Announcing today that the Federal Emergency Management Agency has approved the state's request to initiate the process of conducting a preliminary damage assessment from last week's storm. FEMA is working with the Maine Emergency Management Agency to schedule the assessments. If FEMA believes the total cost is beyond the capabilities of the state, the governor will formally request a major disaster declaration from the federal government. Last week, Governor Mills declared a state of civil emergency for most of Maine. If you'd like to report property damage from last week's storm, you can dial 211. That will help the state get an estimate of the full impact of the storm. The state reminds Mainers that reporting damage is not an application for assistance. You are still encouraged to file claims with homeowners or auto insurance.